Welcome to the Lord and Richards Show, a program that will enable you to become more financially independent and prosperous from a biblical point of view. Tune in each week to learn how to prosper through good markets and bad. Now, here's our co-hosts, Colin Richards, your biblical investment advisor, and Dylan Schoonover.
Welcome to the Lord and Richards Show. My name is Dylan Schoonover. I am joined by Colin Richards, our CEO and founder of Lord and Richards. Colin, thank you for being here today.
My pleasure, Dylan.
We have got an exciting topic that I think you said you could spend hours on, but for the sake of everyone's ears, we're going to just go for about 25 minutes or so, talking about lifestyle management. So one of the things that wouldn't have been common 50 years ago is not a whole lot of people were thinking about leaving the United States and traveling all over the world. And so we're going to talk a little bit about how you maintain that quality of life and get to do all the fun things you want to do in retirement. So opening up with just a simple question of how do we get out there and how does our investments allow us to do those things?
Well, coming back to the concept of retirement freedom, this is yet another expression of I feel free, I can get out, I can spend the money. At my public events, I'm often challenging my clients as well as in private, retire early, spend more, right? It became a mantra when I started to see them kind of hoarding it for the next generation. And the question I will ask my clients is that what you want? As we look out year after year and the money's just piling up and they're not spending it because they're kind of trapped in frugality mode, hey, is that what you want? Do you want to leave $1 million, $2 million, $5 million to your kids? And usually the answer is no, not really. I kind of like to use that myself. And I'll say, well, then you need to go ahead and start spending. Yeah, but we don't want to spend our money. I'm like, well, what are we going to do with it? We can give it away. And so sort of nudging people over the line, but you can't do that because in a traditional investment strategy, there's always this nagging question in your mind. And this is why I think people don't get out there and spend more, is, well, times could change, circumstances could change, and my portfolio might not be able to support me if I overspend now. And so what we're going to do is we're going to come alongside and build a plan, and we're going to insert those kinds of travel or whatever it is that you enjoy that costs money. We're going to insert that into the plan and see what the effect is. Oh, I'd like to take all of my family on a cruise. I had a client who did that. It cost her $50,000. And she wanted to do it annually.
Whoa.
She was just under 90 years old. She says, I'd like to live long enough to do it 10 times and liquidate my portfolio, which she had about $500,000.
Okay.
And because her other needs were taken care of. And so we map it out and we can build that. That may be on the extreme end, but others have plans and they say, well, you know, we would like to travel. Maybe you didn't get to do it for work, but we're just not sure what we can afford. We'll build that into the plan. After taking care of your needs, we'll design a plan that allows you to get your wants, and it'll show you the financial impacts of that.
Man, $50,000 sounds pretty wild. You know, others might need to go a little more low key or else their investments are going to be cooked. But, you know, hopefully we don't end up with a scenario like that for all retirees, that they can really go out and just really spend and do. So we're going to talk about travel. We're going to talk about some of your favorite places to travel as we get into the segment. But before we do that, talk about building of the investment portfolio. It's great to put away tons and tons of money, as you kind of talked about there. But when it's time to spend, how do you know when to spend and why to spend smart so that you don't just run out after the first year of that $50,000 cruise?
Sure. The first thing to do is get your money located in the right place. Before you even invest, we need to have a cash reserve of at least 3 to 6 months. And then add to that what you're going to need for travel and other types of things that are in the near term. So I would call this a short-term kind of reserve. It's safe, it's liquid, probably in the bank, money market, something very short-term that you can access right away. We probably don't want to put all of our money there because that money doesn't tend to grow very much. So it's safe and liquid, but we compromise on growth. Then we move into the next investment category, which is going to be, let's build an income that supports all of your needs for the rest of your life. And let's make that really safe, just like a bank. Let's still have growth, but we're going to compromise on the liquidity and try to limit ourselves to just taking annual withdrawals of income as opposed to flipping that portfolio all around. So now we've got a short-term reserve, we've got a protected income category, and then we're going to have one more category, and this is the really fun one. Okay, all the needs are met, the bills are paid, you know, we're putting food on the table, we're able to take care of the necessities of life and do some ordinary things. Now we're going to have this extraordinary pot of money that's focused more on growth and liquidity. So it's growing and it's liquid. We probably don't want to take a huge amount out if it's during a down cycle, which we're going to go through, but we're going to set aside probably a year in advance that money in cash so that it's there and we don't have to worry worry about, a typhoon wiping out not only your destination, but also your portfolio.
Yes, no metaphorical typhoons taking out the portfolio, and hopefully no cruising or sailing through a typhoon either. But yeah, so we take care of the freedom of health, which we talked about earlier. We take care of the freedom of wealth, which then creates your third pillar, freedom of time. And so that's where the really fun comes in, where you get to be able to do some things. So let's talk about travel. What are you seeing your retirees talk about things that they're doing? What are some of the elements that people are really getting out there and really enjoying?
Well, my retirees are travel experts. They could probably, those who do travel, now some had a career of traveling and they're like, I just want to sit at home and watch TV. But the majority say, hey, we didn't get to do that. We sacrificed to put our kids through school or to raise our families or to pay off our mortgage. So we never really got to enjoy that. We want to start that early. So freedom of health will allow you to enjoy that maybe as early as your early 60s or late 50s. You can take that plunge depending on how well prepared you are on freedom of wealth. But whenever you start it, you want it to be when you're physically able to get up and go, and during the years we call the go-go years.
The go-go years.
Yeah, so we go, right? And so take advantage of that, because we know that in the future, you may not quite have that energy and that gumption to get out and do so many things. So once you make that decision, it's time to start planning ahead. And my retirees have taught me so much about this. I have one that brings back, he has all of his photos made into a beautiful printed album, like a book. It looks like something you would go buy from the photos he takes of the destinations he goes. And of course, Europe is a favorite. I personally was able to enjoy a sweet time with our family. It's kind of neat to be in the middle generation where I've got kids that I'm wanting to introduce to the world, but I've also got parents that have sacrificed for me to help me be in a successful place, to pay for my college education, to raise me right so that I didn't waste money. And so for both sets of parents, my wife's parents, as well as my father who's still living, we were able to take my wife's parents to Italy this past summer, enjoy a beautiful cruise, and hit some of the most favorite spots that anybody would have on their bucket list, like the Amalfi Coast, Sorrento. Just a fabulous time and memories that we'll keep for life. And then, also a trip of a lifetime for my father as we take the family to Jamaica in the next year or so and enjoy a season to do something that he hasn't done in decades since his military career, which is to get out of the U.S. and see more of the world.
Amazing. Really glad you got to enjoy that time with your family, and our retirees got to enjoy some special things as well. When we come back, we're going to learn a lot more about Colin's foundation.
You're watching The Lord and Richards Show, a program that can help you become more financially independent. Tune in to learn how you could become prosperous during good times and bad.
Just pick up the phone and give us a call at 720-372-0400. That's 720-372-0400 for your complimentary retirement freedom review. Or check us out online at lordandrichards.com.
Welcome back into the Lord and Richards Show. Now we have a special opportunity to talk with Colin a little bit about the foundation that you run, a nonprofit, biblically backed, faith-based organization that you have. Tell us a little bit about why you founded it and what it does.
Well, when we founded Lord and Richards years ago, I went into it with the idea that, as a person who is a pastor, as well as somebody who prioritizes my relationship with God, I really wanted to have an outlet not only to help people who had abundance, like our American clients, but also to look beyond that to the people who have the least in the world. And so simultaneously with starting Lord and Richards, we began the Foundation for Global Education as a family. And pretty soon we're actually going to make that a business foundation, rename it the Lord and Richards Foundation. But the idea being that it has kind of a nondescript name that wouldn't conjure up any, resistance in some of the places that we go. We go to places that are called restricted access nations, which means it's very difficult to get into them, and places that, you can't just go and move there and stay without a purpose, a business purpose or some kind of purpose that that country wants. So in order to get in there, you've really got to be doing what they want. Well, we come in through the banner of education, building schools, but we also bring God's love and the message of hope that brings. We bring clean water, wells. We actually work with societies in some cases that are so primitive that they actually have a fear of running water. societies that are held captive by fear of spirits and demons, and we bring them truth and love that releases them from that and enables them to step out of a life of bondage. And in addition, we help groups of people that are displaced by war and by some of the disasters that come in the parts of the world that we go. So it's really been a fulfilling journey together as Lord & Richards gives a significant percentage of our profit to support organizations that are helping these kinds of people.
Truly incredible that people could live in a world where running water is not only not a given, but almost feared to see it, and that's a reality that's hard for my brain to wrap around because we're so fortunate. I've been in places where there isn't running water, but to not only not have it, but then to fear it would be pretty wild.
You can imagine the health challenges also when you have a community that's afraid of water so they don't bathe at all. And so we're coming in at a very foundational level. Often their language, being a tribal language, is not the national language of the country we're in. And so they're so far removed from all that, they don't even understand what's going on in their own nation. And while these are tourist attractions for some people, for us, they're a focus of love because they're dying young, they're dying with fear, and they're dying in a sense of captivity. And we want them to be released from that. We want them to experience God's love and grace and abundance. And so in addition, we're also going to teach them their own language, how to write that. And we're able to bring in linguists that have the ability to take a language that's never been written down and turn that into a written language so that they can communicate in writing, not just verbally.
That's pretty incredible. Why was your heart so built around a charitable aspect from the beginning of founding a business? I wouldn't say every business owner, immediately founds a company and goes, I also am founding a charity simultaneously.
There are a few of us out there that I've met, that had that purpose in the founding. A lot of others come to that purpose as they begin to realize the vanity of excess, as they realize, there's only so much money that's needed to meet my needs and even my wants, and after that, what are we gonna do? Go buy a jet or a Rolls Royce or whatever. And so people come to this conclusion at different times in their life. For me, having spent 15 years as a full-time pastor, I was able to visit places and see the great disparity in the world. So I knew that I wanted to turn my direction now to not just helping those who had that abundance, but to finding a vehicle and an outlet in which I could help those who had the least.
Sure, makes a lot of sense. Have you seen some of that same heart and passion within some of the clients that you work with?
Oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I learned some of the structures that I use for the tax purposes, such as the foundation, from my clients. So I have some amazing clients that were a great example to me that set up their own foundation. A foundation or a donor-advised fund or a charity, they're really three different things, but they're all designed to get you the same place, is that you can give, and our government acknowledges that we want to encourage that giving. It's not a tax shelter. Whenever the government cuts taxes on something, they're trying to encourage that activity. Whenever they raise taxes, such as sin tax, they're trying to discourage that activity. And so by cutting taxes, they're not saying, oh, this is a shelter. They're saying, we want our people, the American population, to be a generous population. And by the way, this is the most generous population per capita. I'm not just talking about volume, in the world. When the world has a financial need, the first place they look is the American population.
I think that's the first place other countries look for money as well as America.
Well, and our soft heart can get us in trouble. We want to combine that with a sharp mind, not a soft mind.
Right.
But I use the vehicle of a foundation, which is a little bit more of a hands-on tool. And there are two kinds of foundations. You can have a private operating foundation, which is what we have, and there are rules around that and how that needs to be operated. And then you have more of a public foundation, which operates more like a public charity. A donor-advised fund is simply a place where you can contribute the money, get the tax deduction today, and give it out and advise where it goes. That doesn't mean anybody else has a choice what to do. Your advice is binding, but you can then direct it in the future when there's a need, as opposed to having to give it to an organization today because of your tax need that doesn't really need it. And then, of course, public charities, you can just give direct to those. You get the tax deduction in the year in which you give them, and
Sure.
they get the benefit in that same year.
Yeah, to layman's terms, a 501c, right?
Yeah, 501c3.
C3, sorry.
Yeah, such as any public charity, and then also churches. Churches do not have to be a 501c3. Interestingly enough, in our country, there's an acknowledgement in the church-state separation. There's actually an acknowledgement of the state that the church is greater, which is fascinating. It goes back to the founding of our country. The lesser pays taxes to the greater does not pay taxes to the lesser, thus churches do not pay taxes to the state.
Very interesting.
So churches don't have to file. Some of them do just to kind of have the paperwork in order, but they actually don't even have to file for 501c3 status.
Makes a lot of sense. Well, thank you for sharing a little bit about that. When we come back from the break, we're going to talk a little bit more about freedom of time and travel and all the great things around that, how you budget for that, how you make sure you do smart spending to be able to maximize your travel in retirement. We'll be back very shortly.
You're watching The Lord and Richards Show, a program that can help you become more financially independent. Tune in to learn how you could become prosperous during good times and bad.
Just pick up the phone and give us a call at 720-372-0400. That's 720-372-0400 for your complimentary retirement freedom review. Or check us out online at lordandrichards.com.
Welcome back from the break. We are talking travel in this portion of the Lord and Richards Show. And one of my favorite things is travel hacks. You and I like to kind of share back and forth, whether it's rewards programs or credit card points, or you can double stack and triple stack this. But it all does factor into how you can maximize your enjoyment in retirement. Now, if you're a multi-millionaire, you probably don't really care if you're getting too many Marriott points or United miles or whatever. But for those of us that are still looking at those programs, how does someone go through and lay out, how they can actually budget a realistic plan to have the most fun possible in a year? How do you guys build that into the plan?
Well, the key is to start dreaming. So the minute you enter our offices at Lord and Richards, you should be impressed that there's a difference in what you see on the walls and in the atmosphere, because a lot of financial advisors just by default will stick a TV up on the wall, and what have you got? You got the news running or the financial media or whatever.
That's always positive.
Yeah, well, I find people are pretty lathered up if I meet them after they watch the news. But what we actually place on our television sets are beautiful landscapes, destinations around the world. On the walls of our offices are pictures of beautiful cities like some of the ones I named in the last segment. We've got Rio Maggiore in Italy. We've got the coast of San Diego. We've got the mountains of Colorado. We're trying to inspire a conversation around what of this world's beauty have you not yet enjoyed, and how can we make sure you get to enjoy that during your retirement years?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So how does that factor in? Because I would certainly think that as people are telling your dreams and telling you their goals and different things they want to accomplish in retirement, and you touched on it in the earlier segment, that a lot of people didn't spend a lot of their time traveling. Hopefully they took a trip or two maybe, but sometimes they only were stateside, or sometimes only even within their state, because they just didn't have the ability or think they had the ability to travel when they were younger. So in the go-go years, before they get to the slow go and the no-go, how do you make sure they're go-going as much as possible?
Well, I started really traveling when I was in college as part of music teams that went across the world and got to perform. And very special was being able to perform in the former Soviet Union. So right after the Berlin Wall fell down, I was with a group of people, and we were able to enter East Berlin. We were able to enter the former Soviet Union, Russia itself, all the way to Moscow. And the Red Square there was kind of exciting. Some of us played and sang right out in the open there. It's an entirely different world after the wall fell down. And that lit in me that bug, not only to travel for the sake of missions and reaching out and touching people like I do so much now in Asia, but also for personal enjoyment. So one of the things I can do is actually advise our clients on ways that they can maximize their own travel experiences, right, to get the most bang for the buck. Some of the things are not about savings, but they're about hacks, like you said. For example, my parents-in-law are getting a little bit older. My mother-in-law will not travel overseas now unless I'm the one who makes the plan, because she doesn't trust my father-in-law because I make it so easy for them. So for a couple $100, you can have somebody pick you up at the curbside And if you don't want to drive, you can obviously have somebody pick you up at your home and pay a little bit more and take your luggage for you. You never even have to touch the luggage once it gets to your front doorstep. And they can take care of all that, take you right through security. It's called a VIP service in the airports, and it's not just for presidents and heads of states. They'll take you through security. If you're a little slow, don't be too good for the wheelchair, man. That is the ticket. I mean, these people on the wheelchairs are flying by. They're getting on the plane first.
I've seen you in an airport. There's no way you're going to be in a wheelchair.
I'm not in a wheelchair. Yeah, I'm a fast mover. But I like to tease my family when I'm on the way to a gate. I'll say, okay, I'm at gate 95, 94, 93, just to see how long they'll hold with me. But no, we had this happen on our trip to Italy where my parents-in-law were just whisked through everything, passport control, all of that, and it just cost a little bit of money, and it made an entirely different experience out of it. There's all kinds of things like that that we share with our clients to improve. So not just saving money, getting tickets for cheaper, staying at destinations, using your points and your travel rewards, your credit card programs wisely, but also spending a little bit of money to make a massive difference in your experience when you travel.
Yeah, and I think that becomes more of a priority for those who are affluent and those who are, getting to a point where they are retired and have a little more discretionary income, right?
That's right. Yeah, in order to have that type of life, you have to have abundant income, not restricted or scarcity in your income.
Right. And then if you, as we talked about, it all compounds. All these things work together. If you don't have your health, you can't be doing these things. And so we've got to make sure that the health is buttoned up. We've got to make sure the wealth is buttoned up to be able to then spend some of the wealth. Because ultimately, I think, at least from Colin Richards' perspective, is that get out and do things. Don't just save every single dollar and, like you said, just sit and watch TV and, live on ramen noodles and TV dinners at night, right? Let's have a couple good meals and let's be able to do some things and have some experiences because, as far as we're concerned, you only go around once in this life.
Well, and Dylan, you're involved directly with our clients on that. You are, I don't know what we would call you, like the master of ceremonies at our Wealth and Wisdom events, but about every other month or every quarter at least, we're getting together at some new, exciting, beautiful place that Dylan and his team introduces our clients to. We've had clients tell us, hey, you're basically introducing me to the city of Denver that I've lived in my whole life, or in Dallas where we have a market there as well. And we're taking them out, doing amazing things and enjoying those experiences together as kind of a little reminder, hey, life is short, get out there, have a good time.
Yeah, and it's fun to hear their stories and hear their experiences. I think when you get to interact with others, you learn and get a different perspective than your own. So, it's obviously a key for us to be able to prioritize this because sometimes it's just, the fact of the matter is you see people who have come in, they've done a great job saving, but they haven't always done a great job living. And so that's kind of got to be fulfilling for you and the financial advisors to be able to help out that side of things.
Oh yeah, I remember after a recent event where I was preaching my mantra, retire early, spend more, as long as we have a plan.
Sure.
I had a couple come in, they were a little bit older. As a matter of fact, they had taken a beautiful picture of their family and given that to us to display. We have a wall where we display pictures of our clients and some of the beautiful places we've gone. And they said, we were inspired by that. We're gonna get out and we're gonna start planning some things to do with our family. Because a lot of these destinations, if it's just you and your spouse, it's about seeing the beautiful place and spending time together. But for many families, it takes another heavier lift to bring others along within your family that don't have that capacity financially to do it. And it's amazing, maybe I'm gonna take this trip with this particular grandchild, we're gonna go do something special, not just overseas, but even in the United States, some of the fantastic places we have.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So walk us through it. If somebody's listening today and they're saying, hey, I want to be able to live that life. I want to know that my assets are in order and I want to be able to know that I can go and do and spend and be on the go-go phase right now. What's that look like? How do you do that with Colin Richards?
So at Colin Richards, we make it so easy and warm and inviting. We invite you into our offices, or if somebody is reaching out to us that lives in another state, we have a lovely conversation online and we walk you through that to make it as easy as possible. And we're gonna have a little visit, we call a discovery visit, where we're just gonna learn everything about you and what it is that you wanna do. Maybe you traveled for a living and that's not your thing, but you wanna just do more of X, Y, or Z. I wanna
live on a catamaran, maybe.
Yeah, or learn a new language, or go study something, or get more involved in your gardening hobby, or whatever it is. We're going to learn that about you in that first visit, and then we're going to come back in a second visit and present you with your retirement freedom review. That is a carefully prepared analysis of the 5 key areas: income, risk, health, tax and estate planning, and determine, are you set in all these areas? Are there ways that we could improve and enhance your protection or your growth opportunity, or where assets go when you pass on, or how we're going to handle it if you get sick? We're going to present all of that to you and give you the opportunity then at no cost to you to step into a retirement freedom world that maybe you've never thought could happen before.
Yeah, I think the last thing you said there is very key. At no cost, you guys are going to build all of that out with someone having to pay any money to get that understanding, which is invaluable.
It is.
Could absolutely change their life, and we've seen that so many times with so many clients. So, Colin, thanks for the information today. It's been a great time talking with you. We are going to see you next time on the Lauren Richards Show. It's been wonderful talking with you about all things travel today.
Just pick up the phone and give us a call at 720-372-0400. That's 720-372-0400 for your complimentary retirement freedom review. Or check us out online at lordandrichards.com.
Take the first step toward securing your financial future. Request an appointment today. Whether you're planning for retirement, managing your wealth, or optimizing your business finances, we're ready to help you achieve your goals. Visit us online at lordandrichards.com for your complimentary retirement freedom review. Investment advisory services offered through Lord & Richards Wealth Management, a registered investment advisor.